The Bill Clark Show, presented by Dr. Pepper. And now, Coach Bill Clark.
Welcome in. It's time for another edition of the Bill Clark Show, presented by Buffalo Rock, Dr. Pepper, Molly Landrum. I'm Pat, along with Coach Bill Clark. Coach, you joined us on the Monday program, and you talked a lot about the changes at Auburn. It finally came to a head on Sunday.
Yeah, and we talked about, and this is no offense to anybody, this is just the world we live in and the world I come from where results matter. I think Coach Freeze will be the first to tell you he was given every opportunity and changes were made. And I think as we've seen other places go ahead and make these changes in the middle of the year, and you would assume there's a limited number of coaches that are felt like that could do something at that level in the elite spot. So I think that's why they decided to go and make the change now.
You watching from afar in the 2.5 seasons that Hugh Freeze was the head coach at Auburn, kind of encapsulate what you saw and why maybe it didn't work.
Yeah, I would just say very simply, and this is like, wow, who doesn't know that every chance they had to win a game almost, they found a way not to win it. And that sounds like that's harsh. You found a way not to win it, but you were there to win it. You've done all the things to get you there. And I said this last year, I was really amazed that they really stayed together throughout the year. So they did keep their team together, so it wasn't the worst. You were there, you had opportunities, special teams and not making plays. And then, of course, we could talk about the offense and what's the identity and all those things. But it was the right move. It was time, needed to be done. Like I said, I think he would tell you the same thing if he's honest.
We kept talking on this show, Coach, each and every week, just the offensive identity for Auburn. And it never appeared. It seemed like one week he wanted to be able for the quarterbacks to run the ball. And then it was, we're going to turn him into a pocket passer. Like, what did you see offensively? Or did you ever see anything of a common denominator?
No, and we went through it. I mean, we've chronicled it here on our show is, you had the great receivers outside, and so we're going to really get them the ball early. And the question I had, if you remember, right after the Baylor game, I said, what happens when somebody makes them do that? I think early on it was we don't really know who they are. They had a good mixture, and I like that. But we know you still got to be able to run the ball to win games. And as they started getting away from any running game, then I think at the end they went the other way. It was almost like so far the other way. Now we're just a running team. And I always talk about balance. I think we're looking for balance unless we've just decided we're going to be Army. And there's we're going to be Army or we're going to be air raid every snap, which are two extremes, but in of themselves, if you went that far, you could do it. But I think balance is the key because, you got to have both. You got to be able to throw it when they can't stop it, or you got to be able to run, or you got to make a comeback, or you got short yardage. So we want balance, and I think that's what they didn't have.
The offensive system, he had success with it at Liberty, had success with it at Ole Miss, didn't totally translate to his time at Auburn. From a defensive coordinator perspective, though, that offense back in early 2010s versus now, how much easier is it for defenses?
I think defensives have, and I said this as a guy who was seeing spread. And I was watching these SEC guys as they saw it. And we told the story about Alabama and Utah, and they were built for 12 personnel. They were built for run. And so when they got this real true throw out of the gun, they weren't ready for it. They didn't understand how to play three-man front. Just like what's happening, Oklahoma did it again against Tennessee with the safety that's now in the middle of the field, the three safety look that's really become the way to play. And we need to talk about that. I think today would be a great day to talk about some of this, but what has happened with that look and why have people gone to that specifically to the Art Briles offense, but really to all these offenses that are so throw. And that's where balance keeps coming back. Keep coming back to balance because you're going to need that when they decide we're not going to let you throw it or we're not going to let you run it. We got to have balance.
It will be interesting to see where Auburn goes. John Cohen, the athletics director, he said on Monday that he was the committee. And he kind of gave out some of the criteria that he was going to be looking for in regards to a coach. And one thing is for sure, if you look at who is currently available around college football, it definitely feels like outside of if a Lane Kiffin all of a sudden called John Cohen and said, hey, I'm available, I want to come to Auburn, it seems like you're going to look at maybe somebody that's an up-and-comer, so to speak, maybe someone not as established as a Marcus Freeman or even a Lane Kiffin.
Well, Marcus Freeman was an assistant. Lane Kiffin was he's a little bit different with a dad doing all the things he had and getting to start out so early. So I don't really relate him, being a coach's son like he was. But that's a good way to go. Somebody that's had success, once again, maybe they were FCS, maybe they moved up from FCS to another program and they've had success and they've got these characteristics that you're looking for. Toughness, they understand defense, they have good special teams. You can go hire a great offensive coach. We got to have an offensive coordinator, which I think, I'm going to say that, but I think is ridiculous. But there's a criteria that you should be looking for, somebody that knows how to win, that's a proven winner. Unless you're deciding to go with a coordinator who's already on staff and you really know him because he's got your guys and you get that. Those guys are out there. You just got to go look for them.
You want the guy that's hungry, though, too, right?
Right.
Like Nick Saban, the way he was wired, he's just different.
Yep.
And that's a part of what made him the greatest of all time. But for a guy like Summerall, some of those others, those guys that haven't, I don't know, if I'm an AD, I don't want the guy who has already received the $60 million buyout from another school.
That's it.
That's fat and happy, right?
That's it.
You want to find that guy that's still hungry, or maybe he's wired a little bit differently if you can find that combination, because we look at Dan Lanning and what Oregon was able to do. Now, Dan Lanning was one of those top defensive guys, but who would have ever thought Dan Lanning, in the limited head coaching experience that he had, could go out and do what he's done at Oregon?
Yeah, and I think to your point, we talked about it off the air, you need somebody that knows he's got to work. He's got kids still coming because it's such a tough job. So somewhere in between. And don't get me wrong, there's some guys out there that have had to work their way up, because we would have eliminated our guy at Indiana, who's not a young chicken, but he was wanting to prove something. He had been an assistant for years, got a little bit of time at James Madison, but he still had things to prove. He had work to do. He wanted to show what he could do. It was his first chance to be a really big-time head coach. So that's why you got to be on the right path there of somebody that's hungry, and I think that's the point.
In regards to the way this stuff works, kind of pull the curtain back a little bit, because you're a wanted commodity when you were coaching. I know you paid someone to represent you. Anybody that had questions about maybe your interest or whatever the case may be, would they just always go to your guy first? Did it ever get filtered to you to the point to where somebody was saying, hey, X school might be interested in you, coach? Did they ever get that far?
Right. Yeah, most of it was through my representation. I had a few times where they reached directly to me, a former player who was really high up. Maybe he was on a committee or had been on a committee. And a lot of it would you have interest? Because I know you're from that area. You seem happy. Would you really have interest? Even though, and I think that's where people don't understand sometimes, is what creates interest. For me, and I think people never really understood. For me, I was from here. It was mine. We'd taken something from nothing. I was in state retirement. There was a bunch of factors. And so I kept saying, look, to get me, and I'm not better than anybody else, but if you wanted me, you had to come get me. I was not going to go out there and get in some interview pool where everybody from Birmingham and UAB says, he's trying to go to Mississippi State or he's trying to go here. If you really want me, come get me. If you don't, that's fine too. I've got work to do right here. So that's why you have representation, is to field those calls and say, hey, what are you guys even talking about? He is happy. He's got a good salary, feels good about where he's at. It would take something extraordinary to get his interest. But that's why you have representation, to field those calls. 99% of the time, that's how it works.
Beauty is in the eye of the beholder. And some of these jobs we look at, and historically, well, this job is better than this job. Why would he not leave there? Right. But that's not always the case. Money is not always the ultimate motivator. If you're already worth $100 million, I presume. I don't know. I'm not worth $100 million. But from your vantage point, now we're talking about these coaches, whether it's Eli Drinkwitz at Missouri or someone else that's got a really good job right now and is making a lot of money. What are the first things that they're looking at when they get that phone call from their agent and they say, hey, school X is interested? What are you looking at first and foremost? Yeah,
I mean, now you're looking at two things. You're looking at your package for you and your assistants and NIL. I mean, that's just what you're looking at. I mean, what are you doing from a rev share standpoint? What are you doing on top of that? What do I see being the advantages better than what I've got? I think that's one thing we hear about Kiffin. Okay, you did it this year, or you did. I got to have some kind of guarantees that this is going to go 5 years out, 10 years out, that I'm not every year having to do this because he's got cards right now. And we go back to Saban, the story of it was the perfect storm of somebody that knew what to do with the authority and the power, and they were desperate. When Alabama was desperate, and they fell into a guy who was really good, and they gave him the authority to do the job. So those two things came together with a guy that got it and understood how to do it, with somebody who had the wherewithal and said, here, take it. And I think that's the problem. It was for me. Look, I'm going to be compared to this. This is who we got to beat. What have they got? What's Georgia got? What's Alabama got? And if you're going to compare me to them, then this is what it's got to be. Now, if it's as best I can do at Missouri or wherever, and I'm happy to be there, then I'm happy to be there. But the first chance Eli gets to say, hey, Missouri, I'm going to use this to try and better our program, create more leverage, because he knows the first time he loses 2 games in a row, they're looking to fire him. So you better get it now.
So how does that conversation go?
Yeah. So that's the same conversation. Now your agent says, hey, so-and-so just reached out to me. And the problem is when people say, and I never want to be this, well, I just had an offer from Memphis or whoever, you better answer it. You better answer what they're doing. Now, if they're the right people within reason, they should be. It's just, but now they might just say, hey, take off. We can't do this, go. But his agent should be talking to them. And that's what happens so many times. And a lot of times it's just them gauging interest, and that your agent uses that to better your situation, which is, that's why you got to play the game, because your situation is tenuous always, because you're in the world of craziness.
Well, and whoever ends up taking the Auburn job, they'll do their due diligence on Auburn, because I know what John Cohen said on Monday in regards to nobody, being involved outside of the athletic department except the athletic director. But it's always been big money.
Yeah.
But it's even bigger money now.
Yeah.
And so, not saying that John Cohen would not take a phone call from some of the big boosters if they've got an idea or two on whatever the subject may be. But if you're a coach, you also have to do your work too, because you're walking proof of how important it is for everyone from the top down to be on the same page. Because if you don't have that, you're not going to have a successful program.
No, you're not going to maintain consistency. And it's like I say, it's too hard. It's too hard when you don't have everybody pulling together, and you can do it for a time. Now, it may kill you. You're having to do every bit of it, and that's what ends up wearing on a coach. It makes for a short-lived run of whatever you're doing, because it's taking every single thing you got. When you have a president, an AD who get it, you got a chance. You got a chance. And that's what these guys are looking for. Who is this AD? How long is he going to be there? Am I tied to, and that's what it's supposed to look like. I was talking to an AD the other day who I really thought embodied servant leadership. And I said, man, this is what it looks like. This is who I want to be as an AD. If you guys were coaching for me, it's like, man, what do you need? Now everybody's going to get in high school. Everybody gets a chance to play everything. Don't talk them out of playing. But other than that, what do you want? What can we go build for you to give you every chance to win? They got it. They understood. That's what it looks like. So that's what these coaches are looking for. Leadership, present down. And I know we were talking about Auburn, and I've heard nothing but good things about the president. So that right there alone gives people to say, well, I'm hearing good things about this president as a solid person. I don't know a lot about the AD, but it's going to be a big hire for him.
What should John Cohen, the AD, it better than anybody, the climate at a place like Auburn? What should the expectations be? How long? Are we talking 3 years? What the win-loss total should look like? Because it is going to be different for this coach, even with the transfer portal, and you'll have guys leaving, than what Hugh Freeze inherited with a roster that was left by Brian Harsin.
Yeah, I think I want to know, how do we compare in our spending to Alabama and Georgia and Texas and everybody else? What are we spending? And I remember some Auburn guys told me this a while back. Coach, I know what Alabama's spending. We're going to match it. But were they doing the other things? A lot of things that were not being done, that people talked about in the old days, now is out there. So what's our rev share? What is our NIL? What are we willing to commit? What is the coaches getting? I mean, now it's dollars and cents. So that's what we should be looking for.
What should the minimum expectation be for that athletic department or that athletic director bringing in a new coach as far as time span? Because I look at it differently. Instead of making your 5 or your 10-year high higher, now you got to keep your paying customers coming in, that money, that cash flow freed up. So what should that be? Should it be minimum bowl game appearance in year 1, 8-win mark in year 2? What's a realistic expectation for that job right now in the SEC?
I would just say, let's use Drinkowitz.
Okay.
Missouri. Competitive. You're going to win those close games more than you lose. You're competitive in almost every game because we know sometimes things happen. And I can see that. And that's why I use Drinkowitz as a great example of a place where he's achieving probably a lot for where he's at. He's made them better. He's got an AD believing in the vision. They found a way to win the games. They've won close games. I'm not talking about all of them, but he's made them competitive. He's got them believing, and to me, that's what we're looking for. And then every so often we got to be there. We got to be in the game. But you should start seeing that. The problem is, Florida's going to say the same thing. Alabama's saying the same thing. Georgia's saying the same thing. Oh, by the way, Tennessee's saying the same thing. Oklahoma. I mean, you're in NFL football. So, but, I think we're going to put in as much as anybody else, and then we're going to have the same expectations they have.
Well, speaking about expectations, the expectations are if you're looking for an awesome bank and a banker to go to, Smart Bank is the location you need to go to.
They really are. I mean, we've just, haven't been so involved with Smart Bank and just how they treat folks. And I say this every week, but I think customer service, go in there and give those guys a try and just compare them to the bank you're with right now. I'm on the board with them. They're great folks. They're going to know who you are by name. Our friends at Smart Bank, go give them a shot.
Coach, Alabama had the off week last week. You were talking about how big that second bye week is, especially when you play in a physical league like the SEC for Alabama. Kind of take that last deep breath for the end of the season.
Yeah, life or death, really. To have made it and survived, specifically the last game for them, huge. And, and I think, can they get back to that edge they had after Florida State? And I always wonder, human nature is to relax. And I think it's almost could not have happened better for them that South Carolina almost beat them, but they won. We get the break, and now we got to go right back to kicking people in the butt. I mean, guys, it's back. It's here. We're on a short window of time. Let's just use UAB and Memphis. Let's pull UAB and Memphis up and say, who would have picked UAB to come in there and beat Memphis and really dominate them to the very end? How did that happen? It can happen with LSU, and I think we talked about this. What do you do as a coach? You use examples. You find examples for your players everywhere you can to say, man, we needed to get well. We needed to do these things, but our life's on the line these next few weeks.
And LSU led by an interim head coach that and Frank Wilson, who was at UTSA in your time at UAB.
Yeah, I think every other coach pretty much, I know they changed offense coordinators. I have not seen who they brought, are using, but everything else stayed the same. These guys are coaching for their lives. They're hoping to be retained. They're wanting to go to somebody else. So big deal for them. We saw Penn State play the heck out of Ohio State last week. So we know what can happen. Hopefully, for Alabama's sake, they're saying all those same things, and they've had a good open day.
I am curious in regards to Auburn and LSU. It's maybe a little bit different for LSU because they had the bye week, so a little bit more time to kind of install a couple new wrinkles or whatever they want to do. But how difficult is it for an Auburn? I know Hugh Freeze was calling the plays. Yeah. Now, obviously, somebody else on the offensive staff is going to call those. But how difficult is it to even put in any type of new type of game plan this late in the season?
I don't think it'd be new. I think we heard the DC talk about being more aggressive. Maybe I don't know what that necessarily means because I don't know that they weren't aggressive. Maybe it's going to take more shots. Maybe it's by going for more fourth downs. I don't know what that is, but there's going to come play after play after play where you went for this fourth down, you didn't go for it. You punted a ball that maybe you went. I mean, he's going to make a decision, and he's making decisions in that game. You know, I watched Gonzalez from Florida, you know, who had been in a bunch of wars. I thought he managed that game well as an interim head coach. You know, obviously Georgia pulled away at the end, but I thought he did a good job. And so what decisions are made by this coach without a ton of other changes that makes a difference? And we see it. Maybe it's another energy, maybe something that he saw from the team that the head coach just wasn't tapping into. So we know it happens, and it can happen. Right
now, if you're breaking this down, I know we say week by week, go 1-0 this week.
Yeah.
But are you presenting it to your team? Hey guys, this is a four-game season. Everything's in front of us. How are you breaking that down psychologically?
Yeah, absolutely. It's, you know, I talked to a coach the other day. I said, man, you're in a one-game season. You're in a one-game season. Then next week, we're in a one-game season. I mean, that's the beauty of when you start getting to the end, because you are physically and emotionally exhausted. You were able to maybe catch your breath, but whoever, you know, Auburn didn't. But you say, all right, here's all our focus right here. Boom. Because I can at least see the light at the end of the tunnel as a coach. Because I know if I'm tired, I mean, listen to me telling it. I mean, you know, it's like PTSD. You just know how tired you are. You know how exhausted you are. And you're just like, man, just this game. Just this game. Give me everything you got.
How much is DJ Durkin maybe thinking this is a little bit of a job interview and audition?
Absolutely.
You're going to pull out all the stops.
Well, yeah. What's he got to lose? I mean, you fake punch. You do. I mean, that's what I would do. I mean, what do I care? You know, I mean, so they're talking about everybody else. I'm going to come in here and just do crazy stuff. Anything that would be unexpected. And if not, you know, in my mind, I wasn't going to get it anyway.
How dangerous is a team like Auburn and LSU?
Very dangerous.
Like coming in with just, you know what, we're just going to go out and have some fun tonight.
Very dangerous. Because we know if players still play hard. Now, that's the key. There's a difference between turning it loose and being too relaxed. You know what I'm saying? I always said, man, I want it to be like, I remember getting different places, Jack, but there was more than one. And I said, man, you guys, I'm having to get y'all going. I should be like holding the reins, some wild horses, and I just got to go, man. And they should be, we should see you on the sideline being crazy. I mean, y'all ought to be doing towels and jumping up and down and celebrating with teammates. And I mean, I wanted all that stuff, all the things, like I said, all the corny stuff, all the fun stuff. Anything that I thought that they were not doing. And that's why I always said, man, find somebody on the field and hold them accountable. You know, all right, Pat, I'm watching you every play.
Yeah.
You better be going, you know. I mean, that's the kind of stuff we should be getting out of a guy that's got nothing to lose. You know, man, call me up. I'll come coach a game.
Well, all these players have to do is just look around. And I know that they're all wrapped up in their own little world, but just look around. Look at the parity in the SEC, for example. Whereas, you know, past Alabama teams under maybe a Nick Saban, some of his best teams, you go out there and you give your B- effort or even your C+ effort, and you're playing an interconference foe like a Mississippi State, you kind of half tail it for 3 quarters, but you still win by a couple of touchdowns. That's not the case anymore.
Right.
You go out there and that other team is firing on all cylinders, you get your butt beat that day.
Yeah.
It's just crazy.
Yeah, and I think that's the point we're making here. It's what can we do for one game? Now, of course, there's going to be a game after that and a game after that. You know, there's a few more other games, but for this game, as an interim head coach, what can I do to give everything we got? And let's just see what happens.
See, for Pat, if you're Durkin, you break out the orange jerseys and you do them on the road.
You better believe it.
Do them on the road.
Absolutely.
Yeah, whatever.
We're here, Music
What's
City.
he care?
What's he care? He got nothing to lose.
He wins. He's brilliant.
He's a genius.
We're not taking the jerseys off ever until we lose.
That's right. I like it.
Oh, my goodness. Webb Concrete and Building Services, great sponsor of the Bill Clark Show.
Yeah, we talk a lot about good people. Phil Webb's as good as they come. But, you know, I think the other thing, they've got all the materials you need. They were great in the concrete business. Now they've gotten it all from flooring and roofing, all the things that you need to build a house or a business.
You know, another sponsor of this program, and I know Landrum and I always give you a very hard time about your vehicle, but one thing is for sure, he did come in here with a great-looking vehicle, and I know exactly where he got it.
He did.
Yeah, I mean, I think our friends at Donahue would be very proud of how clean I keep my vehicle, my Tahoe, and it was washed yesterday, just in case you were wondering. Ridiculous deals. I think of you too.
We kid about it, but now he
Why
makes
do
a
you
point.
think
He
they
makes a
were
point to wash
ridiculous?
it before he
Molly's
comes up
agreeing when I said ridiculous.
Are ridiculous
She
deals.
does deal with y'all a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You got the heavy duty 2026. You got Silverados. Great deal on those. Also, some other awesome deals. You're going to
American
find.
made.
Yeah. DonahueChevrolet.com, Coach.
I love it.
So it made me think when we were talking about like the orange jerseys.
Yeah.
And I don't know if we've ever asked him this. Did you ever have any kind of like, I don't know, weird traditions or things that you would have to do on game day or something like that? Kind of a,
We did our prayer huddle beforehand. That was always very important to us. I think getting to the stadium, the away stadium the day before.
So superstition wise, did you have any?
Did you have a lucky penny?
No, I did not have a lucky penny. I think for me though,
But it was just the routine.
routine.
That was your superstition.
Oh yeah, it was the routine of how we win and going to the stadium and our walkthroughs and focus in those walkthroughs. And of course, I remember we went down and played Florida, and I truly the best walkthrough I've ever been part of. And defense was so on, and we stopped them and we stopped them. We couldn't get a first down. I think we got beat 31-7 or something. But it doesn't always relate to a win. But it does relate to how well your team is prepared and are they ready and do they make all the checks and all those things. But just mindset at the hotel, I just didn't want anything till I got to the stadium. Because once we got to the stadium, Hay is kind of in the barn then.
Was that McElwain at Florida?
That was the year he'd gotten fired.
Oh, he'd gotten fired.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. So we'd face an interim, and then I hear some of them's not even there. They're out recruiting. I didn't know they had a whole nother staff that was still coaching.
What you didn't know was a young Connor Stallions was on their sidelines.
I had no idea.
Yeah.
He was getting all our signals.
Let's get that one back.
Yeah. I do need to turn that in. That's an asterisk.
We can fix it on your Wikipedia page.
Please do. Please do. I'd appreciate it.
Oh my goodness. All right.
No pictures of you with a shark.
He can't get that shark up on the pontoon boat. What are you talking
Oh,
about?
you're right. Those sharks better not be in Logan Martin.
No, I don't even know what you're talking about.
I don't either.
We'll show you.
Okay, show me.
Yeah. Well, not on the show.
No, this is gonna be great.
No, we'll have to show
No,
you.
pull the graphic up, Molly. Just kidding.
Yeah, can't you do that? Hold on, we're going to show you
In real
gonna-
time.
This is going to be great. This
Okay,
is going to
we'll
be
have a lot of people
So
wanna tune in.
you honestly have no idea what we're talking
I
about.
have no idea.
Oh, I thought you knew. I thought you were just playing it off.
Okay, all right. We're just give us 1 second,
Okay.
and we're going to play this for you.
All right. Sounds good.
Okay, Coach. So we have it on the screens. We're about to put it up on the screens behind you.
I'm looking straight ahead.
And you have no idea what happened at Florida with Jim McElwain. Now, supposedly.
Okay.
Yes, this is all alleged.
Yeah, he denies that.
You
this-
like to go deep sea fishing, though.
I have been, yeah, and liked it.
Okay.
Sure.
All right. Well, go ahead, Molly. Put it up on the screen. Go ahead and take a look behind you, Coach.
What in the world is that?
It apparently is supposed to be a
One has a dorsal fin, the other doesn't.
and he was this individual that was on the shark. He was buck naked, correct?
He was.
Oh, okay.
He was completely buck naked.
And who is this?
He literally jumped the shark.
Who does that look like?
Is that supposed to be him?
Well, that was the internet rumor that it was Jim McElwain.
Yes. It became urban legend. And then finally, it took sleuths tracking down the actual guy.
So this is some other human being.
This is another human being not named Jim
That's
McElwain.
probably why I didn't think it was Jim McElwain.
But there was 3 or 4 years, right, Pat? It
Yes.
was up in the air whether it was Coach McElwain or not.
I mean, he actually had to answer questions
about this.
about this, that this individual who caught this shark and decided to lay on the shark naked.
The world we're in.
He's not as impressed as
I'm
I
not.
thought he was
No,
going to
it's-
be.
Well, if it'd
not.
been him, it would have been better. But at least I know that rumor. I was probably coaching at that time, so
You're in your own little world.
I absolutely
Worried about game plan, going want to know. So silly.
surviving.
Just kidding.
All right. Well, that's going to do it for another
That's how we end today.
award-winning edition
how
of
we
the
end.
Bill Clark Show presented by Buffalo Rock. One more look at it, Coach. What do you think? I'm talking about the shark. I'm not talking about
I can see here too as well.
What position would that guy play for you?
Looks like a nose guard, doesn't he?
He looks like something.
All right. Join us again next week for the Bill Clark Show presented by Buffalo Rock and Dr. Pepper for Molly, Landrum, I'm Pat. That's Coach. Have a great week, everyone.
This has been the Bill Clark Show, presented by Dr. Pepper.